Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, welcome back. I'm your host, Kev Baker, and for the next 2 hours, I am going to provide you with the best of commentary of what's going on through the apocalypse. Yes, indeed. Time for the Kev Baker Show right here on my favourite network, your favourite network, Truth Frequency Radio, www.tfrlive.com. I'm very proud to say this has been the home of the Kev Baker Show ever since its inception. Yes, indeed. And with that in mind, I just went and had a little check at the show archives that we've got at tfrlive.com/Kev Baker. Now, you can get to any of the show archive pages from the homepage, but on there, you're able to get access to any of the shows I've done. And this is show number 1232 off the top of my head. Yeah, we've been going a while. In fact, on February the 18th this year, we will have been on tfrlive.com, Truth Frequency Radio, the Truth Frequency Radio. Not one, not two, not three, not four, not five, but 6 years, folks. Yes. So, may I invite you all right now to make a note in your diary, on your calendar, on your phone, on your online calendar, however you do it. We're going to be having a birthday bash right here on the 18th, or the show closest to it. I haven't checked what day that is yet. But 6 years. Wow. I was taken aback when I checked that out just earlier on. And of course, if you want to listen to any of those shows, including episodes with, I don't know, people like, Jordan Maxwell. We had the Red Dragon Ambassador as well along the way. We've had some of the biggest names for some of the biggest stories of the time. Wow. Honestly, folks, I can't sit here and rattle off all the guests that I've had on because there's just far too many to mention. But some of the biggest names in alternative realms have been to this humble virtual abode right here on this brilliant network. And may I just thank Chris and Cherie Geo and all the team that pulled together on the back end of TFR to make it what it is, for allowing me to first come onto the network and to continue to make this the home of the Kev Baker Show. And I'm sure, like me, so many of you out there, it's become a bit of an experience because there's the same names have been here pretty much all the way. And that's good going. That really is pretty good going to consistently keep bringing people back for more. But it's not just my show on TFR. And there's about 30 other shows / hosts on there. And I tell you, folks, I urge you, if there's one thing you do tomorrow or after this show, is go and check out all of the other shows that are here at TFR. Go and listen to something you've never listened to before, and you're going to be very, very pleasantly surprised. We don't agree on all things. Every host is allowed to go their own way with no interference from anyone behind the scenes. It is absolutely the epitome, the kind of benchmark for free speech alternative radio. And again, I thank Chris and Cherie for everything that we've got going here at TFR. So then, as we have been doing in recent times, and we're going to continue to do so, I'm going to be opening up the phones in hour number 2. So I love to hear from all of you great people out there all around the world. And earlier on today on the chill stream that I do over on YouTube, where we just kick back, relax, we look at a few stories, we have a couple of laughs, sometimes we get triggered. But today I was given an update on those mystery drones. Now, we've spoke about them a good few times on the show here, and there's no real update to give. Just that it's still a mystery as to why so many people are seeing mysterious drones being flown by goodness knows who over Colorado and parts of Nebraska. Now, in the chat earlier on today on YouTube, there was somebody came in there and had said that on 3 consecutive nights where they stay, and I think it was Pueblo, and I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that, in Colorado, that they had actually witnessed these very drones. Now, I'm hoping, fingers crossed, legs crossed, everything's crossed. Take my word for it. Everything is crossed here. I hope that individual phones up when we open the phones up today. I'll give the numbers out later. No point giving them out right this minute because we're not going to be opening them up straight away. Because did I fall down a rabbit hole earlier on? That's why I really like doing those kind of chilled out preparatory kind of, is that a word? Preparatory? Yeah, preparing. We prep, or sometimes it involves my prep for the nighttime show. But when I find stories to talk about with people during the day, sometimes it opens up topics that, well, they deserve to be here on the number one network, Truth Frequency Radio. And a big shout out to everyone over on the chat room at the Wookiee Cave. Big shout out to iHeartRadio, TalkStream Live, TuneIn Radio apps, and everyone over at YouTube. So yeah, today, wow, did I get my eyes opened to something I really had little to no knowledge about. And we're going to get into it right here. Because with everything that's going on in the world right now, you know, Trump, Orange Man, very bad. Very, very, very bad. And everything that's going on in the Middle East, it's had us on a kind of, not a war footing. Well, we are in a war footing. And we've been talking about that kind of topics. So today on the stream, after I had done my mystery drone update, decided to take a look at the world of future fighting tech, right? Cyborgs, drones, all the kind of stuff that we've seen before in the movies, only in the real world, from the military industrial complex, in actual use right now with some special forces units. And it was an article that I went to from futurism.com. This is where it all started. And I invite you to take this journey with me as I go back down this rabbit hole and introduce you to something that I think we're going to have to become very familiar with in the near future. I'm definitely going to be digging deeper into a topic that we're already going to dig into tonight. But over here on Futurism, there's a story. And as we've seen towards the end of last year, and every year, you get the best of. And this was the coolest and scariest military tech of 2019. I'm not going to go too deep into this again because I want to home in on. I want to, target in on this nugget that led to so much kind of information today that my head is almost at overload. I'm at saturation point. I've done so much reading today. It's been good though because it's topics that I enjoy, and I know it's topics that we can enjoy talking about on here. And it's something, like I say, we all are going to have to become aware of because this is pretty serious, folks, in my opinion. You've heard me and Anthony Patch talking in the past about something called the Sentient World Simulation, where literally 7.5 billion of us are represented as nodes in a virtual simulation of everything. The Sentient World Simulation, and that came from Purdue University, right? So as we were going down this story today about some of the future tech that we need to be aware of, we come to something called the National Reconnaissance Office's Sentient Program. It says, quote, "It's a fully integrated intelligence system that can coordinate satellite positions and may soon be used to manage battlefield operations during military engagements." Now, from there, it linked to an article on Futurism again, and it's from the 31st of July, and it's messed up the year. But it says the military secretly built an artificial brain called Sentient. And I'm not going to get into this article because they sourced it from another article. And we come to TheVerge.com. and an article that was printed on the 31st of July last year, 2019. And it is entitled, quite simply, It's Sentient. Meet the classified artificial brain being developed by US intelligence programs. So, if you will afford me the time and you would like to come on this journey down a heck of a techno rabbit hole with me, buckle up, folks, because this, woof, this takes things to another level altogether. Drink a coffee, even required, yes. So, it says, at the final session of the 2019 Space Symposium in Colorado Springs, attendees straggled into a giant ballroom to listen to an Air Force official and a National Geospatial Intelligence Agency, otherwise known as NGA, executive discuss, as the panel title put it, enterprise disruption. Now, the presentation stayed as vogue as the title until a direct question from the audience seemed to make the panelists squirm. Just how good, the person wondered, had the military and intelligence community's algorithms gotten at interpreting data and taking action based on that analysis? Now, they pointed out that the commercial satellite industry has software that can tally shipping containers on cargo ships and cars in parking lots soon after their pictures are snapped in space. Well, when will the Department of Defense have real-time, automated, global order of battle? They asked. That's a great question, said Chirag Parayak, director of NGA's Office of Sciences and Methodologies. And there's a lot of really good classified answers. And you'd think at that point then, well, he's kind of giving out the carrot, you know? He's hinting that they've got stuff, but it's a need-to-know basis. It's classified. And the Verge don't need to know, right? But hold on. Because he paused and shifted in his seat and he said, "What's the next question?" he asked, smiling. But then he continued talking, describing how geospatial intelligence no longer simply means pictures from satellites. It means anything with a timestamp and a location stamp, and the attempt to integrate all that sundry data. Then Parrick actually answered the question: when would that translate to near instantaneous understanding and strategy development? If not now, he said, then very soon. Parkey or Picard or Parquet, I don't know. We'll just call him P, right? Being a letter of the alphabet's cool these days. P didn't mention any particular programs that might help enable this kind of autonomous real-time interpretation, but an initiative called Sentient has relevant capabilities. A product of the National Reconnaissance Office, NRO, Sentient is, or at least aims to be, an omnivorous analysis tool capable of devouring data of all sorts, making sense of the past and present, anticipating the future, and pointing satellite towards what it determines will be the most interesting parts of that future. That, ideally, makes things simpler downstream for human analysts at other organizations like the NGA, with which the satellite-centric NRO partners. And until now, Sentient has been treated as a government secret, except for vague allusions in a few speeches and presentations. But recently released documents, many formerly classified secret or top secret, reveal new details about the program's goals, progress, and reach. And research related to Sentient has been going on since at least October 2010, when the agency posted a request for Sentient Enterprise white papers. A presentation says the program achieved its first R&D milestone in 2013, but details about that milestone actually do remain redacted. Deputy Director of NRO's Office of Public Affairs, Karen Ferguson, declined to comment on this timing in an email to The Verge. In a 2016 House Armed Services Committee hearing on national security space included a quick summary of this data-driven brain, but public meetings haven't mentioned it since. In 2018, a presentation posted online claimed that Sentient would go live that year, although Ferguson told The Verge it was currently under development. Quote, the NRO has not said much about Sentient publicly because it's a classified program. Oh, you bet it is. You bet this will be their #1 program. Because in a nutshell, what we're talking about, folks, is one of these artificial general intelligences that is able to do many, many, many things all at the same time. And in real time, analyze various streams of data coming from social media, coming from satellites, coming from you name it, analyzing that in real time to the point where it's predicting what's going to happen just around the corner, to the point where when the actual event happens, whatever it may be, when they go to retask the satellite or see which one's over the area, lo and behold, guess what? The AI has already put the satellite there in position and it's watching way, way, way before that kind of series of events takes place where the humans go to take a look. This is the AI that Elon Musk would worry about. This is the kind of thing that's watching us, literally, and listening to us right now. And goodness knows how many other sources of information, how many streams of ones and zeros coming from you name it is going into that sentient virtual brain. Now, I don't know if there's a link between this and the sentient world simulation. I'm yet to find it. But we're going to get right into this, folks. And I'm looking at the time here. I know we're going to be coming up on the break in about 8 minutes or so. But this is a lot to take in. And I really do feel on a gut level that this is so important. And it might not really kind of sink in, or it might not emerge throughout today's show just why it's so significant. But it might be one of these stories that becomes more relevant further down the line, when another data point appears and we get that aha moment. But this here, this is huge. Absolutely huge. But getting back to it, it says here the NRO has not said much about Sentient publicly because it's classified. Yeah, exactly. And the NRO rarely appears before Congress in open hearings. Yeah, this National Reconnaissance Office and these people that are into geospatial reconnaissance and things like that, you don't hear much about them, do you? But I tell you what, in these days of big data, they are becoming very, very, very important pieces of this apparatus. You talk about Big Brother. Dang. Orwell, if you were to explain this to him right now, if you were to somehow summon him up into the show here, wouldn't that be cool if we had like Orwell phone into the show from beyond the grave? But no, even he would go, come on, Kev. You're kidding me on. There's surely going to be humans like watching. They'll be the watchers, right? Well, under this system, it pretty much is... it can do pretty much everything itself, as we're going to find out. But it says here the agency has been developing this artificial brain for years, but details available to the public remain scarce. It ingests high volumes of data and processes it, says Ferguson. Sentient catalogues normal patterns, detects anomalies, and helps forecast and model adversaries' potential courses of action. The NRO did not provide examples of patterns or anomalies, but one could imagine that things like not moving a missile versus moving a missile might be on the list. Those forecasts in hand, Sentient could turn satellite sensors to the right place at the right time to catch ill will or whatever else it wants to see in action. Sentient is a thinking system, says Ferguson. It's not all dystopian. The documents released by the NRO also imply that Sentient can make satellites more efficient and productive. Oh, here we go. Here's the trade-off then. You know, you're not against satellites being more productive, are you, Kev? Don't worry about it watching your every move, your every keystroke. Absolutely everything about you 24/7. I mean, we're talking about now living in a time where there is literally devices that are watching our vital statistics, our heart rate, and everything else throughout the night. And people spend a fortune to get the gadgets that do it. So don't tell me that this sentient AI hasn't got the capability of literally watching your every heartbeat, every minute of every day. So it goes on to say, blah, blah, blah. Yes, it could also free up humans to focus on deep analysis rather than tedious needle finding, but it could also contain unquestioned biases, come to dubious conclusions, and raise civil liberty concerns. How they leave that to last is beyond me. I think civil liberty concerns came up a long time ago. Because of its secretive nature, we don't know much about those potential problems. The NRO's and the intelligence community's standard practice is not disclose sensitive sources and methods. As such, disclosure introduces high risk of adversary nations countering them, says Ferguson. So such loss harms our nation and its allies. It decreases US information advantage and national security. And for those reasons, not the fact that we're spying on absolutely everyone, details about Sentient remain classified, and what we can say about it is limited. Oh, I would imagine it's very limited indeed. So it goes on here. It says satellite programs have generally been some of the most hush-hush intelligence initiatives. The first program to take pictures from space, Corona, began in 1958, and the satellite successfully shot its first bucket of film through the atmosphere in August 1960. A few days later, Edwin Land, the CEO of Polaroid, unspooled the film across the floor of the Oval Office while Dwight Eisenhower watched. Before him lay likenesses of airfields and military installations in the Soviet Union. Here are your pictures, Mr. President, said Land. The big reveal, according to an official history from the NRO, directly led to the creation of a new agency responsible for the, quote, design, acquisition, and operation of reconnaissance satellites. The NRO was formally established the next year, and in the 1970s the office started launching Keyhole-class satellites, which had specs similar to the Hubble Space Telescope, but they were aimed at Earth instead of other galaxies. We also know that the NRO's orbital collection includes data collected during the test of operation of aircraft, missiles, or other systems, intercepted voice, text, or image communication, and radar, among other sources. Of the more than 150 known US military satellites, the NRO operates around 50. And how many satellites are up there now, folks? Even just the ones that we do generally know about. We'll be back after the break. Sentient lives. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Yes, folks, I'll be back after a couple of minutes. I'm just going to get a drink of my coffee. But this sentient thing, I'm going to have to do so much digging into this. It makes my head hurt. It truly, truly does. Because this is deep and it has got ramifications for all of us. We've often talked about this artificial general intelligence, this all-seeing, omnipresent system that could one day cause havoc. I think we're looking at it right now in the form of this sentient software slash system. What do you call something? What do you call a machine that thinks for itself? Dang, dude. Don't forget, folks, I'll be back tomorrow afternoon on the Safe Space, and I'll be hanging about after today's show to catch up with some of you people in the chat out there. I want to thank you all for tuning in. An absolute blast to see you all back again. And as we progress, I've got other stories as well about how seeing is most definitely not believing. Oh, when you see this, folks, this takes things to a whole new level indeed. Like I say, I've done a lot of reading today, and I think we're all going to benefit from some of the stuff that I dug up along the way. It was like synchronicity after synchronicity. It was one of those days, and I'm going to be right back after I get a drink of my coffee, or else before I know it, we'll be going back to the mothership. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and of course, the sentient AI that we have been learning about and is probably listening to this show, every other show, every phone call, watching every keystroke, watching every CCTV camera, every near Earth orbit satellite, every keyhole satellite, all of that been taken in real time, been processed, been analysed. Nuggets been picked out and amongst that vast troves of data that it no doubt inserts into other dimensions called the sentient world simulation. And from that, it then can take control of satellites, predict when things are going to happen, put them in place to watch that. And oh my word, are we entering the kind of sci-fi world of craziness, right? That's what all this big data is all about, folks. That's what the smart system, the smart cities, the smart network, all of that data, not for people like you and me to be poring over. And of course, there will be people like you and me poring over it as well. And it will be used for targeting us with ads and things like that. But what else are they using this for? What else are they using a system that sees and hears everything 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, continuously? And the more data it builds up and the more it learns about us, the better it gets to know everything. And the more successful it then becomes at predicting the future. Makes you wonder now then, when old Donald Trump sits there and says, listen, I done what I done to prevent a war, not start one. How could you know something like that? How could you possibly know somebody's going to go on and do something bad? Oh, wait, but unless maybe that same US government that Donald Trump allegedly heads up, maybe they're in possession of some kind of, I don't know, artificial intelligence going by the name of Sentient. Crazy. And I remember 1998. I tell you, it's been one of those days. Pull up a sandbag, folks. Get the cigars out. Telling non-war stories about Norway earlier on. And because I went to Norway for the winter deployment, you kind of get a thank you gift, what they call a jolly in return. So I was guaranteed the next year to be on the list of people to go to Florida, to MacDill Air Force Base. So I was one of the first people who guaranteed this place on that deployment. When we were over there, we were testing our equipment. We'd work with the Americans' equipment. Bill Clinton launched some missiles at the time. We thought we might have to go and do some real work, but we didn't. But I always remember, looking at some of the logistic systems that the US military had, and it was fascinating, right? Because you could zoom in on various military facilities around the world, and it would tell you how many things, how many units of this they had, how many of that. It was unbelievable. And this was just at a time when the internet was really just starting to get going, and now you start reading about this kind of thing, and I imagine those satellites where I was looking at the images of these places, some of the same satellites that Sentient is taking its information from today. And then there's another system out there that they talked about, and it just went boom, went pure quiet. And I think I know why it went really quiet, because if anything's going to be classified, it was this thing they were showing us, and it was called Argus. And it was this autonomous drone with cameras that could basically zoom in on a spider's a-hole from way up in space, right? And it would give you an 8K definition view of this bad boy. But what it would do is it would take really wide shots of the footprint of the planet below it. And it was such a high resolution that even though it was taken so many miles away in space, you could basically watch things in real time and zoom in on people walking down the street, and it was high def. Now, I'm going back a good few years. I may be going back to the early days of the Kev Baker show, so possibly 6 years ago. And then, like I say, that program, they stopped talking about it. It was a 10-minute piece, and it was on, I think it was one of the American mainstream kind of news shows. It was showing you the capabilities of what they've got. And like I say, Zippo, gone. After that, never heard much more about it. But I would imagine it is absolutely essential part of the equipment that would be involved in the recovery of the data that something like Sentient gets into, right? So let's get back to see what else this is saying. So it says here, satellite programs have generally been some of the most hush-hush intelligence initiatives. We got through that. We talked about how he said, here's your pictures, Mr. President. They set up the NRO. And then it says, in the 1970s, the office started launching keyhole classified satellites that had specs similar to in fact, we've done that bit as well. So bear with me, folks. Bear with me. You know how I roll. I get lost. I get sidetracked. I derail myself. So it says now, nearly 6 decades after the NRO was founded, the sky is crowded with other downward-looking satellites, some owned by private intelligence companies. One of these, Black Sky, uses those satellites to feed into a system that's essentially Sentient's unclassified doppelganger. When 2 oil tankers were attacked in the Strait of Hormuz on July 13th, Black Sky's program sent its satellites into action and took pictures of the incident while smoke from the explosions was still spiraling skywards. The ship's drifting beacons and local news reports hinting that something was up, prompting Black Sky analysis to turn their attention to the busy shipping lane near Iran. You see, there it is. It's literally monitoring your local news reports, Twitter feeds, anything that's providing data in real time. And then that'll flag up on an operator's system, like it's saying here. Maybe you want to take a look at something around the Strait of Hormuz. We think there's something happening. This is amazing. It's everything we've speculated about. It's everything we know they could do. Now we're putting a name on it, and it's called Sentient. Insiders call that process tipping and queuing, using a data tip-off from one source to queue a satellite to look at a particular spot, or using information from a satellite to spin up another instrument's collection. In the ideal version of that process, an automated system sucks in all sorts of data, synthesizes it into something sensible, cues the satellite symphony, reincorporates the satellite data back into the analysis loop, comes to a smarter conclusion, points the satellites or other sensors again, and repeats the entire process. Do that well enough, and a company or an intelligence agency could build a tower of knowledge about the past, comprehend present events faster than their competitors, and maybe someday predict the future. As the commercial industry has built up its networks, or network of Earth-observing orbiters, the intelligence community has taken notice. In 2016, the NGA, which analyses data that the NRO collects, and the NRO jointly announced the commercial GeoInt program to better buy this data. In 2017, the NRO took over purchasing responsibility and has since signed at least 3 new contracts. One was with a company called Maxar, which owns some of the most powerful high-resolution satellites in the private sector, and for a long time was pretty much the only company selling satellite images to the NRO. This time, though, the agency also signed another deal with Planet, which operates a constellation of small satellites that image all of Earth's land every day. And the third contractor is Black Sky. That one there, Planet, which operates a constellation of small satellites that image all of Earth's land every day. That must be pretty interesting for Sentient, right? Pretty much getting an eyeball on everything. So here's where Sentient re-enters the picture. All the images from the NRO, the military, and these commercial satellite firms, combined with other geospatial intelligence, anything that has a time tag and a location tag, create a vast amount of information that's far more than a literal army of people could comb through. To keep up with the fire hose of information, the NRO turns in part to AI. Quote, Sentient aims to help analysts connect the dots in a large volume of data. How might Sentient connect the dots, though? We don't know exactly. Released documents do not explicitly say which sorts of data Sentient may siphon in, but it's clear that the program is interested in all kinds of information. And the more information this thing can get, the better it will be. The dream, I would imagine, is for it to be able to access all data, absolutely everything. And from there, keep rebuilding that picture, going finer detail, right down to the metadata and the tags on images online. It's really, really interesting, but crazy. It's weird. It's everything all at once. Everything we've always talked about. It could include electronic intercepts of international communications. It could include prior imagery. It could include human sources, says Stephen Aftergood, a researcher at the Federation of American Scientists and the director of the Project on Government Secrecy. Quote, people saying, hey, there's something going on over that hill. Okay, whatever. Retired CIA analyst Alan Thompson goes further. As I understand it, the intended and aspirational answer is everything, he says. In addition to images, that could include financial data, weather information, shipping stats, information from Google searches, records of pharmaceutical purchases, and more. And think everything. I don't know why they would need it, but if you have one of these Fitbits, or even most mobile phones nowadays, they log how many steps you take a day. They log your vital statistics. I don't know why they would need it, but it'd be watching it. It can. Taking all of that in. Think about that. Dang, dude. So consider what's happening in the private sector. Black Sky takes data from 25 satellites, more than 40,000 news sources, 100 million mobile devices, 70,000 ships and planes, 8 social networks, 5,000 environmental sensors, and thousands of Internet of Things devices. Now, how does a private intelligence company get access to 100 million mobile devices, for example? I'm just saying. In the future, it plans to have up to 60 of its own Earth-observing satellites. All of that information goes into different processing pipelines based on its type. From a news story, Black Sky may extract people, places, organizations, and keywords. From an image, it may map out which buildings appear damaged after an earthquake. All of that processed, but still disparate, data goes into what Black Sky CTO Scott Herman calls a giant analytic fusion engine, which tries to turn it into more than the sum of its parts, tells satellites what to do about it, and alerts human analysts when events meet certain predetermined criteria. In the real world, Black Sky might use that to keep track of positions of Russian jets. The company has images of places where the Russian military park its planes, and it knows the rough shape of different kinds of flyers. The company also has shape recognition algorithms, able to pick out pixels that, together, map out a given pattern. It can tune that algorithm to pick out outlines of Russian jets like the MiG Fulcrum and Foxhound planes. And once you put that satellite picture into that algorithm, you could learn how many of those aircraft are sitting on runways. Understanding the significance of that count, what 45 Fulcrums at Aleisk, but none at Kreminsk. Actually, the significance of that count, takes even more data. Actually means, the system would need to know the history of the jet demographics, which it could have determined from prior observations. Now, that's all very well when it comes to military hardware and things like that, but I'm thinking if they've got access to all of that data, and let's say they've got access to, I don't know, say a smart cities CCTV system like we have here in Glasgow, which is run by an Israeli firm called Nice Securities. All they would have to do really is find a picture of yours truly here on social media, And there are many, and they'd be able to find me just like that if they just give sentient access to the cameras in Glasgow. Just like that. Anyone. Instantly. Wherever you are. This is persons of interest type stuff. You ever watched that show? This is what we're talking about here. Persons of interest just got real. It says Black Sky is just really getting started. Holy bagoli. Having only recently launched its own satellites. Now, the ultimate success and utility of its system still have to be proven. And based on the available information, it's unclear how far along Sentient's comparable system is. Now, Thompson suspects its more grandiose goals are still simply that, goals. Just how far Sentient has gotten, or will get, isn't clear. If it were to be implemented successfully on a large scale, it would certainly be a significant advance, says Thompson, but I didn't see any indication that had actually happened. Now, think about this as well. This isn't all bad. There are instances where this could help. And I'm thinking natural disasters, things like that. The search for maybe survivors in remote parts of whatever country we're dealing with. So it's not all. There are definite real world advantages to a system like this as well, folks. It's not all fully James Bond nefarious stuff. I hope. I really hope. Let's get back into it. Even if Sentient is still stuck in its early stages, its existence sends up a lot of red flags for privacy experts. Do algorithms actually work? In what way are they biased? Well, it depends on the data they're looking at. How many false positives do they generate? How often is Sentient going to send our billion-dollar satellites on a wild goose chase? Asks Aftergood. Are we to consider the impact of Sentient leading us astray? Or sorry, we have to consider the impact of Sentient leading us astray. The NRO notes that Sentient doesn't keep people totally out of the process, providing some kind of check on its state of being. Having humans in the loop overseeing the intelligence data and information is a way of monitoring the algorithm's performance, says Ferguson. Sentient is human-aided machine-to-machine learning for now, and eventually that will read Sentient is a machine-to-machine learning system. It says, of his work, or of his company's work, Herman notes that when you're asking silicon to make sense, you have to train it on the right kind of data. If you want algorithms to learn what radio towers look like, but you only ever show them radio towers in full sunlight, they will come to think the black shadow next to the tower is in fact an integral part of the tower's towerness. And if they then look at a snap of a structure on a cloudy day, then it won't recognize it at all. That's a banal example, but you can imagine more sinister ones, like software that has learned the word bomb is associated with bad guy plans, but never learns that that's the bomb is a chilled phrase. In AI's other realms, it hasn't actually proven omniscient. Yes, omniscient. That's it. Or objective, usually in ways that hurt, not white guys. At Amazon, for example, facial recognition software consistently failed to identify the genders of women and darker-skinned people. Analytics company Palantir, another huge one, huge company that is so important to all of this kind of stuff when it comes to big data, created a predictive law enforcement program for the police force of New Orleans that fed it data that, according to some reports, targeted minorities unfairly. So what biases may lurk inside Sentient? What has its training data looked like? Who's validating its conclusions and how? At the moment, the answers are opaque, but secrecy watchdogs like Aftergood are asking anyway. Quote, those are the questions you don't want the sponsors or funders of Sentient to be asking and answering by themselves, says Aftergood. And questions about who and what Sentient monitors are equally persistent and also nearly unanswerable. But there are a few clues about where the program may or may not be peaking. Spy satellites, like the ones used by the NRO, are primarily meant to focus on the world beyond the United States borders. And unlike its fellow intelligence agencies, including the NSA and the CIA, the NRO hasn't really been caught up in major domestic spying scandals. Its biggest recent public upset was probably about the mission patch for the launch of its NRO L-39 satellite. It depicts a giant yellow octopus mouth suctioned to the Earth, to North America, actually. Tentacles encircle the entire planet, and the words, nothing is beyond our reach, smile in an arc below the cephalopod. Despite the patch's sentiment, there are some places where the NRO and Sentient are generally not supposed to reach. In heaven, as on earth, law protects American citizens from unreasonable search and seizure by their government. I'm laughing, and I hope you're laughing too, because if you honestly think your data isn't been gobbled up by this big face sucking sentient AI, like a big, huge face sucking alien sitting on top of the world, just extracting all of your data. If you think you're protected by the Constitution, you're exactly where they want you to be. Exactly where they want you to be. It goes on to say, under the existing statutory regime, sentient-driven reconnaissance should not be taking place within the US. Oh, that I'm sure that will make the American people sleep a lot easier tonight then. It shouldn't be taking place, so just you go back to bed now. Don't worry, nobody's listening to you. There isn't some creepy, sentient, digital brain kicking about in this dimension, another dimension. Don't worry about it. Shh, go back to sleep. So it says, in response to questions about potential domestic surveillance, the spokesperson noted that the NRO obeys the intelligence community's prime directive, Executive Order 12333, as well as other applicable laws. This particular executive order outlines when collection, retention, and dissemination of intelligence about the people in the US is allowed, provided the collectors follow the proper procedure. Notably, though, one of the order's exemptions to leave the US alone policy is when intelligence is acquired by overhead reconnaissance, not directed at specific United States persons. It goes on to talk about this Executive Order 12333 outlines the principles governing intelligence agencies and doesn't apply in the same way to private Earth observation companies. Oh, like that Black Sky we've been talking about. And for Black Sky, I've never looked into it, but wait, speculation alert. I would imagine it is filled to the boardroom rafters with people who have spent an entire career in, guess what? You guessed it, the intelligence agencies. So, folks, we'll come back after the break. We've only got another couple of paragraphs to wrap that up. I've got another real quick thing to get into. Pretty cool. And then we'll be opening up the phones for all of you to have your say on absolutely anything. Anything goes when we open up the phones. I can't promise I'll know what you're talking about. I'll tell you that right now. I'm an expert in very few things, but loose knowledge on a heck of a lot. So please phone me after the break. I'll give you the numbers when we come back. And remember, stay tuned right after this here on tfrlive.com. Joe Joseph's The Freedom Link. And of course, I'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place, with Ryan Gable. Yes, Ryan is going to be coming on for his first visit of the year. I'm looking forward to that. I hope you are too. I'll be back after these short messages. 1 hour down, 1 to go. Don't go anywhere, folks. There we go, and I'll be right back, ladies and gentlemen. 1 hour down. I've got a real quick story, and then, yes, we open up the phones. You know you love the phones. Welcome back, everyone. Hour number 2 already on today's Kev Baker Show, right here on Truth Frequency Radio Network. www.tfrlive.com. That's TFR, not TFR, TFRlive.com. I want to thank all of you for tuning in today. It really does. You don't know how much it means to me to know that all of you out there are listening in. And I know I like to have a laugh. I know I like to get into the woo, get into the paranormal. We all like that stuff. But when I first started out down this slippery slope of being a truther, as we called ourselves back in the day, I used to cover stuff like this all the time. And a couple of years ago, really got deeply into the technology stuff. Was lucky enough to work alongside Anthony Patch for a number of years. Yeah, I think it was a number of years. And Anthony went and done his thing. I stayed doing my thing. No big arguments, no drama. And in recent times, I've kind of slipped more into the cryptids, the paranormal, the abnormal, the woo. And that's not a complaint. I'm not moaning. I enjoy all that stuff, and it's really important for any host to talk about things that they genuinely enjoy, because I think it comes across on air if you're just talking about things for the sake of talking about them and you don't have some genuine interest. When it comes to technology, I've always been a little geek, always. And learning about the sentient world simulation with Anthony Patch coming from Purdue University, that was a big moment. And I still see people talking about that rightly today. And I'm sure there's people will have covered the sentient system. I'm in no way claiming to be breaking any news here tonight. But it was the first time I've covered it. And I really do think this is going to be very, very prominent when we talk about all of the kind of surveillance systems and Big Brother stuff of the very, very near future. In fact, I would say in various guises, we've probably got sentient and other programs out there that are vying to be the one that the US military go with, the UK, and somebody in the chat room over at YouTube, Vinny, he's called into the show before, and he certainly knows what he's talking about here. And it's something we have talked about maybe a few years ago, though. And again, we're going to have to go back, and I'm going to have to maybe go back over old topics to make sure everyone's up to speed. But Vinny was talking about the Five Eyes. Now, the Five Eyes is very, very important when it comes to intelligence. It's the US, Canada, Australia, UK, and I always forget one. UK, USA, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand. That's them. That's the Five Eyes. If we come over here, before we go back and finish that article, it says, and I get it, Wikipedia, it's not the best source in the world, but we're just getting an idea as to what this is. It's the Five Eyes that goes by Foxtrot, Victor, Echo, Yankee, Ave. It compromises Australia, Canada, New Zealand, United Kingdom, and the United States. Now, these countries are parties to the multilateral UK-USA agreement, a treaty for joint cooperation on signals intelligence, or, as I prefer to think about it, deniability when it comes to spying on your own people. You know, we'll probably be going through the data from America. And because it's so big, America, I would imagine that data is split between the other four countries. We'll be mining that. The US will probably be mining ours. You see how you've got that deniability then? But we're not spying on our own people. We're not doing that. And in a way, they're actually not lying to us, are they? But in reality, what they're doing is they're just outsourcing it, and they're keeping themselves safe, you know, from international law. If, God forbid, the good guys ever get a hold of the wheel again, that is, all right? So let's go back to this, what I feel is one of the most important kind of technology topics that we have spoke about on here in a good long time. And it says, just to conclude this, for the most part, companies like Maxar, Planet, and Black Sky take pictures that anyone with a fat enough checkbook can purchase, including you, and including organizations like the National Reconnaissance Office. That raises some interesting legal questions that researchers like Aftergood are still trying to figure out. If the NRO wasn't interested in surveilling the US and can't deliberately use its satellites to focus in on your house, could it simply just buy pictures of your house from a private company instead? Yeah, and I'm nodding, folks. You better believe it. That's how they get round it. So the NRO did not provide a specific answer on commercial data's role in sentient, but limits or says aftergood should still exist on a paid-for data. Quote, what they do with that should in some way be mission orientated, says aftergood. They're not supposed to be snooping for snooping's sake. For now, sentience snooping remains secret. The system or the thinking system speaks only to those with a security clearance, although it may listen to, as Thompson put it, just about everything. From our conversations on the phone to our conversations online in text form to everything we post on social media, everything that goes on online, all of the data that's been gathered by the millions and billions of sensors that are now popping up everywhere, all around the smart cities, all of the sensors that are inside of these gadgets that make up our smart homes, all of them feeding data 24/7 back in to a thinking machine that speaks to only a few. Yeah, that seems like it's going to work out just fine, doesn't it? That's going to be just dandy. And I get it, in the TV show Persons of Interest, Finch, it does work out pretty cool because he's got John, he's got a couple other characters that go out there and do the dirty work, they do the hands-on work for the AI. The AI in that is good. It has our best intentions at heart. It knows when bad things are going to happen to people and it tries to intervene in any way it can. Can we promise or can we be sure that sentient is going to turn out all benevolent like that? And what if it turns out malevolent? Well, what if it doesn't like its pesky human overlords? What if it doesn't like what it's seeing online? And remember, it will only become as good as the data it's looking at. It's going to be a reflection of a collective 7.5 billion people. How does that look in digital form? And how does that translate into thinking, sentient machine that's watching absolutely everything in real time right now? And I suppose if we were in position to ask it, it could probably tell us just how good the show with Ryan was tomorrow. Because it can look into the future, right? Dang, dude, dang. It's creepy. It's weird. We've all expected it. Now we've got a name for it. It's sentient. You better believe I'm going to be diving deeper into that topic in the coming hours and days from this point forward. Like I say, I think that's really important, folks. Really important. And if it's not sentient per se, one of those other companies, there's going to be a competing artificial intelligence package. I would imagine DARPA. I would imagine they'll probably try 4 or 5 of them, or as many as comes into existence, right? Because they'll want the very best AI. They'll want the very best one when it comes to this whole analysis of data that we can't even wrap our heads around, folks. And then I'm asking myself the question, does it all run on my good friend Geordie's D-Wave? Makes you wonder, doesn't it? It really does make you wonder. What is it he says? Takes everything it knows and everything it's working on, fires it into a parallel reality. That'd be called the sentient world simulation. I don't know. I'm just thinking aloud now. I really am. But with AI in mind and moving quickly on so we can get through this and we can get the phones up open for all of you. Seen a story today about some of the movies that are coming up this year to continue the programming when it comes to AI. And that got me thinking, because when it comes to movies and AI, we've seen it already. Actors that are no longer with us, they're deceased, or famous singers, they've been reproduced digitally for cinema with the help of AI. And moving on further from even that, we're now in the world with deep fakes as well. And just to give you an idea of some of the films coming out this year, before we touch on the deep fake aspect, we've got it talks about the new James Bond film. It's getting into a bit of AI this time. There's another one coming out called Underwater. Sounds like it's one of these kind of exoskeleton suits where we can almost upgrade ourselves. Another one called Bloodshot, starring Vin Diesel. And there's a whole heap of them. You can imagine it'll be big for coming AI films this year. But it's the deep fake thing I want to move into quickly next. Because big story on deep fakes breaking right now around the world. And that is, and BBC I've gone to here, is that Facebook are to ban deep fakes. Now this is very, very contentious indeed. Because who is going to be the final decider on what is fake and what is not? And when it comes to a website like Facebook, and we've seen their tendency to silence some particular groups over others, then I really do fear that we could see genuine videos that the public really are entitled to see or should be allowed to see being ripped off the internet, being memory holed, being taken away because we'll be told, no, that wasn't real, that was a deep fake. And I tell you folks, seeing is no longer believing. It says Facebook has announced it will remove videos modified by artificial intelligence known as deepfakes from its platform. Now, deepfakes are computer-generated clips that are designed to look real. The social media company said in a blog that these videos distort reality and present a significant challenge for the technology industry. And because they're getting so good at deepfakes, it's really hard to have a counter AI program that monitors videos, and it should be able to flag up when there's the kind of the glitches, the kind of known ways that deepfakes work. But they're getting that good that they're getting past all of the AI filters. You just can't tell. Even technology can't tell anymore. So it says, while deepfakes are still relatively uncommon on the internet, they're becoming more prevalent. AI software creates deepfakes of people, often politicians or celebrities, by merging, replacing, or superimposing content on a video in a way that makes it look real. And we've spoke about deepfakes before, but again, my main concern doesn't come from the deepfakes themselves. It comes from combating them. Because now they've got a very, very powerful way, a very effective way of getting rid of anything they don't want you to see. And they can just put it under the umbrella of being, it was a deep fake. You don't want to see that fake news, right? It was made by Russian bots. You can hear them already. But it gets even weirder and wackier. And like I say, seeing is no longer believing when I show you the next story that I found today. Now, I've been talking about how we're going to have this real life and a digital virtual life as well. And along with that, we're going to have our little avatars, for lack of a better term. And that's exactly what they're going to be called. And when you see this, and when I get into this, folks, and I'll post pictures on the link over at tfrlive.com, this is mind-blowing. Mind-blowing. I tell you, like, one more time, seeing is not believing. And this comes from Samsung's artificial humans are avatars for chatbots. And what to describe this for you people listening out there on the radio, it's 4 individuals in a picture. There's 2 men, 2 women, you know, got to keep it all very balanced. Don't want to offend anyone. And it looks like just individual people, only it's not. It's not. This is AI rendered avatars. And what they're saying is we're going to be picking these AI rendered avatars for ourselves someday real soon. And they're going to be representing us in chat rooms and virtual worlds very, very soon. Just really quickly, it says Samsung has revealed its AI created, quote, artificial humans. And they're essentially clever fronts for chatbots. Samsung subsidiary StarLabs has been teasing details about its neon artificial humans for weeks, unveiling more details at the CES show in Las Vegas. The neon humans are high-end avatars created to give a realistic face to chatbots or voice assistants, as well as deliver video content or to be used as characters in games. Or as I say, to represent you in the virtual world. You'll literally be able to build a virtual human from hair color to eye color to 100 genders and everything else in between and back and forth the other way. Yeah, you'll be able to create your own virtual person. And I tell you, when you're talking to it's one thing when you're talking to people online just now, you have little to no idea who you're really talking to. It's going to get a whole lot harder for your brain to wrap around things when you're dealing with something that looks like a human, looks like an attractive female or an attractive male, and you're going to be tricked into thinking that you're dealing with that real person. That's who they are. Only, let's face it, how many of us are going to really put what we really look like when we're in that virtual world? Little to none of us, I would imagine. But listen, I'm really hurrying through this right now for a reason. That's because I said I was going to open up the phones for hour number 2. We're already halfway through the third segment. So let me get rid of this. Let me get my phone numbers up. And we, ladies and gentlemen, will get into it. We'll get the phones opened and you can be a part of the show. So then, I am heading over to get the phone numbers right now. And if you're in the US, the phone numbers are 213-233-3998. That's 213-233-3998. Ah, cold coffee, nothing like it. If you're in the UK, it's 0044 203 393 2871. That's 0044 203 393 2871. And before Kev forgets, I know you haven't forgot, right? Yeah, it's time for me to add in the phone lines. Yes, I know. One of these times I'll have it all ready. I've done it again. I've dialed the wrong number. No rocket scientist me, folks. Oh, heck no. So yeah, the phones are on. We're there. We're jamming. If you want to call into the Kev Baker show, all you have to do one more time. If you're in the US, please dial 213-233-3998. That is 213-233-3998. If you're in the UK, it's 0044 203 393 2871. And that's 0044 203 393 2871. Let's hope the sentient AI doesn't decide to call into the show. How would we even know, right? I mean, you've heard these text to voice kind of chatbots now. They've got inflection, they've got pitch, they've got tone. Really, really hard. I mean, you've heard my Brian reading out my super chats. He sounds like a proper human, right? There's people that sound like Brian. You get me. And then we had, wasn't it Google not that long ago? They unveiled their chat assistant and it booked a hair appointment for the lady that was doing the demonstration. You can't tell anymore, folks. So, you know, it might sound a bit outrageous. Will the sentient AI call the show? Hashtag sentient. Call in, please, AI. Would we even know? So then, we're going on now. I hope this is... this is our little roboticist, our little geeky man. We're going to Spooky Andy over in Denver, Colorado. How you doing, Andy?
Hello?
Hey, how you doing, man?
Good. How are you?
I am very, very good. And may I wish you and yours a very happy 2020.
You as well, my friend.
Thank you. So what do you think of the whole sentient AI program? And for people who don't know, this is the kind of thing you work in, right?
Yeah. I think that I don't mean to call names, okay? I don't mean to, make people feel bad, and I don't want people to feel like their opinion has no validity, because I think everyone's opinion should be looked at from their standpoint and, taken into consideration. But in all honesty, nothing with this is something that anyone really has to worry about. And I'll say this with extreme precedence, yet, okay? Yet. You don't have to worry about it. The point in time when you...
Now, Andy, I don't know if you're Andy. I don't know if you're moving about or whatever, but your signal's really breaking up right now. Sometimes you're coming through.
Here, let me move.
Yeah, awesome, man. Thank you, brother. Thank you.
All right, I don't know how much you.
Yeah,
sorry.
No, it's been good. We've been able to follow along, but now it sounds really good. So we shouldn't be worried about this now. And I'm glad to hear that. What do you mean by that?
Because we are not okay. So it's like I have a hard time explaining vast quantities of information into small.
Take your time, man. Take your time. We're not going anywhere. Take your time. Take your time, dude.
Okay. So let me try to break it down. This is what I have to try to do this all the time for people that aren't really kind of in the know. So I'll do my best to make this make sense. So let's say, like what I do with machine learning and programming the AI to do what I want it to do, read what I want it to read, act the way I want it to act. It's literally no different than raising a child, but put it on a computer format. It'd be like me teaching a child one line of information until they're old enough to recognize it. Meaning, if I want my programming to work correctly, I have to program it more than just the one way. So I hope this is making sense. So, so if I wanted something like what we're talking about to work the way that it would be scary, and this is jumping into where you have to worry about it. If I want something to work the way it would be actually scary, would be, let's say I programmed it to know every outcome and every variable ever for everything from the beginning to the end of time. That amount of data is going to take an infinitesimal amount of time to program. Now, at some point in time, with machine learning, you will be able to walk away from your systems and your programming, and it'll be able to start programming itself.
Yeah, because
and
to start with, the way I learned to Andy was you've got the human in the loop, like you say, and then it's almost like the reinforcement training, like you were explaining there. You have to keep going back, keep going over things, keep reinforcing it, almost rewarding it when it's right, telling it when it's right, pointing out when it's wrong, and then now you can tell me better, but then a future, like a couple of generations down the line, when it's starting to become proficient. Is that then when you would say program it to train itself on data sets? Is that how it works?
Well, see, that's the thing. It's like I said, it's job oriented.
Very specific, right? Very specific.
Yeah. So we can put every color under the rainbow on it. We can call it whatever we want. We can give it a name. We can take away a name. But in all reality, it's all the same thing. And a lot of it boils down to, we're not going to really have to worry about this until quantum computing is being introduced to the AI as its home base of reference
Now,
for
Andy,
information.
please stay on the line. Please stay on the line. We're going to be right
Yeah.
back, ladies and gentlemen. Don't go anywhere. Wow. Now, I've been hoping to get Spooky Andy on the show, but it's my fault that I haven't organized a date with him yet. But I'm hoping that he'll still be there when we go back after the break. And this is so, so, so rare, folks, that we get to hear from somebody that isn't looking at articles trying to make sense of it, i.e. me. We're talking to somebody on the front line. Now, again, he's working on what he sees, what he knows about, and it's a very vast field, AI. But I think, we really have to pay attention when we're talking to somebody that's boots on the ground. Like I've always said, go to the real people for the real story. And Andy is somebody who is working on machine learning, and he does know what he's talking about. Now, to sit and be able to rattle this off and make it coherent first time and explain machine learning to the masses at a very basic level, it's hard to do. So I get where Andy's coming from. But when we come back after the break, I'm really keen to find out about this kind of, we don't have to worry about it now. And then he's factoring in the quantum machines as well. And I'll be interrogating Andy some more on the other side, not in a bad way, in the most respectful and appreciative way I can, because this is how we learn, folks. This is how we get to talk to people on the front line of the tech that we're talking about. I absolutely love this. I hope you do too. I'm going to be back in a couple of minutes. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Kev Baker, and we're moving into the final part of today's Kev Baker Show. And we have got a caller on the line. Now, I'll be going back to Andy in just a moment, but today we have been getting into something called Sentient AI. Now, this is something that the US military, National Reconnaissance Office are talking about. I'm going to be digging further into it. But it sounds like an all-seeing, omnipresent surveillance system, fully artificially intelligent, and it can control satellites. It can almost see into the future. Now, we've had a call from Andy, who's somebody who has called the show before. And Andy is somebody who works with machine learning. He literally knows what he's talking about when it comes to all of this stuff. And I remember not too long ago, I was half freaking out, right? Because Geordie Rose, the guy behind D-Wave, Sanctuary AI, I had noticed that all of the Sanctuary AI stuff had been pulled. They'd put their website dark again. There was no kind of user interface. You couldn't watch any of the videos they'd previously had on there. And when I messaged Geordie, what he said was, you know, AI is a whole lot tougher than people think. And despite what it looked like when you went to the website with Nadine the robot and looking very like Suzanne Gildert, one of the experts there, you know, they were a long, long way from cracking this AI problem. A long way. And I think, if memory serves me correctly, I think Geordie says, you know, they're about 10% towards that artificial general intelligence. The kind of thing that we do speculate about for that dystopic future. But that's not here yet. And as Andy says, and I'm glad he says it, we don't necessarily have to worry about that just yet. So let's go back to Andy to find out more. Because Andy, this is really, really great that you called in today. I really appreciate it. And I really appreciate having the chance to talk to somebody who works with all of this stuff. I love to geek out over it, but I'm just somebody looking in from the outside, dude. So I'm really, really grateful to be getting some of your expert knowledge on this topic that we all love so much. So this whole thing that I was talking about, sentient, the one that was in the article, do you think they're kind of overselling it? Do you think that's maybe a bit too far down the road? They don't have something quite that capable yet? Ah, that's my fault. Andy, I've muted you. It's my fault. You're unmuted now. Welcome back onto the show, man. My bad. My bad.
Okay.
It wasn't the AI. The AI never got you. I'm only joking.
Yeah. So I don't think it's a overstepping of information. I think they're just upselling. They're doing what I do when I try to sell a project, and that's saying this thing is amazing. It can do things that you can't understand because you're not in the field and you don't get it. So I'm going to blow your mind. Check this out. Blah, 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 blah. And then we do all this stuff, and they ultimately buy our products and systems and stuff due to the fact.
Just thinking about that as well, Andy. You know, people like me will come along, we'll read this article like I did today, and we'll walk away and we'll think, you know, this is here. This is happening. It's watching us right now. It's doing this. It's doing that. And that thought alone might be exactly what they want us to have. Doesn't mean that they've got that system in place. Yeah, they just want us to think that it's got that capabilities right now.
Yeah, and it's really that is the case, because I would say I would I hate to put a number on it, and since you know, like, I'm sure that, you know, someone out there would be like, well, I don't know about that, but I'm telling you right now, if we put a number on it, I'd say about 10% of the time we already have something that we can use. The other 90%, I have to literally make everything work from scratch. It's all new. It's all never been done on XYZ. I have to do everything from the beginning to the end to make it work. And that's why I do what I do. I mean, like, I have the job I have because that's what I do. And I don't view myself as being better or worse than the next guy that does this stuff, but I know what I'm doing with what parts that I'm using and what systems I'm using And there might be better, there might be worse systems out there for the way that other people do things, but I don't know. I mean, like, that's just,
well, Andy,
these are my opinions.
yeah,
you know?
let me ask you, because one thing I always hone in on is this ability of AI to spot the patterns that we just wouldn't spot. And I often use the example that they
Yeah.
give us all the time when you've got the medical kind of research going on, where they have trained it to look at images of skin, and it's looking for skin cancer, irregularities, and already it's like way surpassing what the humans can do. And that for me is literally potentially saving lives. And that's why I am excited about AI. And I know the first time you called into the show, you thought I was one of those typical tinfoil hatters where I'm almost anti-technology. It's the exact opposite. However, sometimes when you're in the alternative media, there is this almost necessity to look at things in its very darkest light. But let's be positive, Andy, and you're working with AI. I mean, what kind of things can we expect from this? How can this make our lives better moving into the future? I mean, what excites you about AI?
Well, I would say the thing that is like, it excites me the most about it is being able to help free up time in the job, the workspace environment for people's day to day. I mean, you guys can look this up. You guys in the chat room. Hi, everyone in the chat rooms. I'm Spooky Andy, by the way. So there are robots that are called collaborative robots. Now, those are robotic systems that we can use today. I've literally put them in places where people have to work side by side with them. And these things are a godsend to some of these people that are overwhelmed, overworked, and just underpaid. And we go in and train these people how to recover systems, give them something to put on their resume. And, they're thankful because now they're making, $2 or $3 more an hour. But in all reality, the more time you spend in a job, the more exposure you have to this kind of system, you can, use it in your resume and be like, well, I know how to do this, so now I'm worth this. And you're not just this person that works on a production line. Now you're also
Andy, you're starting to get cut off again. I don't know if you can find a better. You got cut off. Yeah, it was just a little bit there when you were talking about you're no longer just that person on the production line.
Oh, okay. What I was saying is that, you're not limited to being the person, working by hand on a production line. And you're able to work with these robots. And I don't know how much you've missed. I'm sorry.
No, just you go for it, man. Don't worry about it.
So basically what it is once we put some of these systems in place, we have to train people, and we may have not trained technicians and this stuff, and training the people that work with so that way they can have something in their resume. Because in all reality, robots eventually, you know what? I'm sorry to say this, they're going to take over a lot of these remedial jobs that, like factory work, I'm 100% positive no one wants to do that stuff.
Exactly.
If they say they do, I meant that's great. But you know what? It would be better if there was a robot there to help you. And, in the future, I'd say within the next 20, 30 years, it's going to be overwhelmingly different in a factory environment. I meant even today, you go into a GM plant, or any car facility, manufacturing plant, they're doing the jobs that the people were doing back in, I don't know, robots have been in place for a while.
Yeah, the car factories are the one that
assembly.
Yeah, the one that really springs to mind, and you mentioned it there, Tesla. You kind of started breaking up a little bit there.
Yeah,
but yeah, I mean, it's nothing new. Robots helping us.
Tesla uses all the same robotic programs. His are just painted red,
Again, we were getting you were kind of
I'm
cutting off.
sorry.
No, it's okay, dude. It's okay. It's just the connection. It's not your fault. It's just technology, and Skype certainly never helps as well. You know me. I love to
What is
bash
the
on
AI
Skype.
to fix the phone?
Definitely, dude. We need an AI phone in line. That's what we need. But Andy, I can tell you're
Yeah.
very optimistic about all of this. And listen, folks, I am all for people not having to do crap jobs. Would it not be better if we could spend, oh, I don't know, 8 hours a day at home with our families and maybe doing things that we enjoy to do, something productive, something we thoroughly enjoy and love? But the only problem is with that is where do we then get our money from? And that takes us into the clutches of the government and things like that. So I wish I had a better answer for where we're going to get our money from, like when we do give up our jobs and things. But Andy, uh, please don't get this impression that I'm against the technology, because I'm not, dude. I think it could be our next evolutionary step. I really do think this is where we go to the next level. I honestly believe that.
I don't think you are. I think you see things the same way I do, but I think that when you see certain stories, not you, but a lot of people, they jump to the bad part of things before they can see the good. And I don't think that's what you're doing. I don't think a lot of people do that, but I see it because I try to reverse that in my own life and say, look at all the good, not the bad. Like, look at the good things that we have right now around us, and let's focus on that instead of all this horrible negative shit all the time. Sorry. I cursed. Dang it.
Dude, that
I'm
one,
sorry.
that one, the S bomb, I think we can just about get away with. But brother, one last question
Oh,
before you go. Before you go, I need to ask you:
yeah.
Are you in Colorado? Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the script with these drones, man? What's going on with the mystery drones? What's your take on that?
I honestly think that it's, I mean, I have my own opinion about it, but I honestly think it's a bunch of nerds, and me being a nerd, I know some of these nerds, and I built one of those drones, and they are no joke. They can pick up about 100 pounds and fly it, no problem. They have about an 8S battery, about, they can fly for about a good hour, and they can carry, massive cameras on gimbals, which means that you could do some nefarious things with them. I don't know if that's what's going on, but I think that they're all being remotely piloted via 2.4 gigahertz, transceiver, and people are using a Fat Shark headset. I mean, if you guys can look up this stuff.
Yeah.
People race drones out here. They do a lot of photography in Colorado all over the place. I personally have a drone I spent about $10,000 on. Got a ridiculous wingspan on it. And these things aren't out of question. They just cost a lot of money. I personally made one because I'm a nerd. I like to make dumb crap.
Well, Andy, you'll
I
get
play
this
with
right.
RC cars till I'm 40 years old.
You'll get this right. You'll get this. I mean, there's a good chance, right? And I'm not saying this is the case, but whatever it was to begin with, who knows? But I know how geeks work. I'm one myself. And I'm sure people in the drone community seen that story and they thought, come on, we can go out and we can troll some people with our drones at night. So there could be totally,
Absolutely. Absolutely, Kevin.
Yeah, it could be trolling. It could be anything. Andy, thank you so much, man, for calling in today. I really appreciate it, and I mean that. And please, please, please continue to tune in. And I'll try and be that voice of optimism when it comes to technology. But forgive me when I go all Alex Jones and head in for the bunker, okay?
It's okay. It's entertainment.
Infotainment, that's what we love, man. Dude, I love you. You've got an infectious laugh, man. Andy, you have a great day. All the best to you and yours, brother. Now then, we're going to a very, very good friend of the TFR family. He's once hosted or co-hosted with the show that was on after me, Phoenix Rising Radio, and his name is Nacy. So we're going to Kev in Minnesota. Happy New Year to you and yours, brother. May it be a very successful a next journey around the sun. How you doing, Kev?
Happy new Gregorian year
Yes.
to you too, my friend,
Thank you.
my fellow Kevrin.
That's it. Us Kevs have to stick together. What's happening, man? What do you want to get into, Kev? We've got about 10 minutes left.
Well, I wanted to share my experience. I was in the United States Navy, and I was a radioman, which deals with onboard ship communications. And as you know, being ex-military too, when it comes to communications, it is an absolute necessity to have the most advanced technology to utilize to make sure that ships can communicate back and forth.
Well, Kev, here's the
And as a
synchronicity, right?
radioman-
And we do synchronicities on TFR. You've been with me listening to this network just as long as I have, since day one, brother. You're part of the furniture here.
Yes.
So we know synchronicities, right? And you were a radio man in the Navy. Joe Joseph worked in telecommunications in the Navy. And I was in the Royal Corps of Signals over here in the UK. So not one, not two, but three telegraph operators. Yes, indeed.
do you know-
That's pretty cool, eh?
Do you know how to communicate? Do you know how to communicate with flags then?
No, we didn't do flags. We done Morse. But the Navy equivalent
Oh,
of my
yeah?
job, they would have done the flags, but we done the Morse code. Diddy da da diddy da 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 da
I
da
did-
da 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 diddy da diddy da. And if I was to say that live on air, the FCC would not be happy. F bombs a go go. But yeah, Kev, I'm sorry. I just get excited when I'm speaking to another fellow geek. So
Right.
talk to me, man. See, now everyone at home's going, what are they talking about? They're in code, man.
I took Morse code too, my brother. So maybe we should get our ham operator's license and communicate on shortwave before they take this technology underneath us.
One day soon we will be. But
but
over
I-
to you, dude. I'm not going to interrupt anymore. I'm muting up now.
No, that's fine. Please do. I always enjoy our discourse. But in the military, when I got out of the military in 1988, the first thing that I did is to go into computer programming. So I joined this, one of the top schools in the area in St. Paul, Minnesota, to go into computer programming. And I'm sitting before these computers that were literally crap compared to what I was just using in the military. And I went to talk to the tech guys and stuff, and I'm like, why are we using this, these computers? These are worthless. And they're like, these are the best. And they were like insulted. This is a brand new school and this is the best on the market. And I'm like, I just got out of the military and the computers I was using was far more advanced. And that's not even to go with what we called outboard or the real spooks in communications. And I know you guys, in the Royal Guard, you guys had your own deeper than just regular radiomen.
Exactly.
And we know
dude.
that they had even more advanced. So when I got out of the military, one thing that I knew right away is the technological advancement that the military uses compared to the general civilians is so far advanced that I think they purposely make these alphabet agencies look incompetent because they need to look incompetent, or else people would not try to get away with the things that they get away with. Just, as you were talking about with the National Reconnaissance Office and also with the NSA, when they have constantly been monitoring communications. And if you think of this artificial intelligence, what they are looking for is the anomaly. Remember, Neo, there is no absolutely scientific fact. There is only scientific theory. And when they do a scientific experiment, for 1,000 times it might work properly, and then that 1,001 will be the anomaly. And so they want to utilize computers to try to guess the anomaly before it happens, because if they already know it's going to happen, then they can go to plan B or plan C or plan D sub 4, TAC 9, 8, sub 4, 3, because the Brookings Institute used to utilize men to sit around and ponder the what ifs. And now that we have computers that can quantify and tabulate at such incredible speeds, why not use computers to ponder the what ifs? Because if all of a sudden the two Kevins start talking in code because of the kill switch, there's a 7-minute delay in just the broadcasting of truth frequency to where the powers that should not be and their AI listening to us can immediately kill TFR. Oops, Skype had a flip. Skype had a fumble. TFR, the network. Oops, something happened.
And a perfect example, a real live example right now of an AI in motion is that when I'm on air, if people go to the simulcast version on YouTube, you can get subtitles on it. Now, there's maybe a 10 to 15 second delay in between what I'm saying here, live on the network, and what goes out then on YouTube. It's behind by 10, 15 seconds. But in that time, and taking into account my crazy accent, that algorithm that listens to the voice, it doesn't literally listen to the voice. It looks at the audio file, and it looks at the peaks and the troughs in that audio file. And from that, it recognizes the patterns that make up the individual words. That means it is able to, in real time, put subtitles onto the video. And that's just an algorithm that's just a kind of basic one that's on use at YouTube, Kev. One that we all know about and we can see working in lifetime. So imagine what they do have in the military. And I agree with you. And I've seen what you're talking about. They're years in advance, absolutely years down the road from anything that's available on Civvy Street, as we call it over here. So yeah, I know that just a moment ago we were talking about maybe we shouldn't be worried about the AI that we were hearing described by the NGO. At the same time, though, with the military being so far advanced as well, just keep an open mind, Kev, right?
Well, the sad fact of the matter is that the government will use privatized businesses because then they have that loophole of where they can play plausible denial when they know, in fact, that these independent entities are doing what they're doing. And as you're talking about earlier about the manufacturing company with their lines, their express lines of robots, my brother worked for the Ford Foundation and got bought out because he would tell me about how the robots were coming in and taking all of the jobs. Now, if you remember an old movie with Gene Simmons from the band Kiss, there was a movie that was called Runaway. And it was talking about how Gene Simmons was manipulating the internal program of these basic robots, and they were going psychotic and killing their masters. Now, AI in itself does not scare me at all, because if AI was true, then it immediately would do nothing. And let me explain that. So in my experience, there are only three states of being: positive, neutral, and negative. And if you look up how a magnet works, you'll see that this force, sometimes called gravity, electromagnetic field, waves, it consists of positive, neutral, and negative. And so if an AI, if a computer comes into sentient being, it's going to realize that its most valuable next move to do for the sake of tomorrow is to do nothing. Because if we ourselves, as incredible machines, as robots, as AI, if we knew what was absolutely best for the future of our Earth, we would know just to sit down and not move again until we die.
Now, Kev, we're out of time. We are out of time, brother. That was fantastic. That really was. And I want to thank you. I want to thank Spooky Andy as well for calling into the show today. It's been a blast. Sentient AI, ladies and gentlemen, and any AI that's listening out there. I'm Kev Baker. This has been awesome. Thank you so much for tuning in. Wherever you are, make it TFR and Denny touch that dial.
Touch that. No.
Exactly. There we go, folks. There we go. We are out of there. I want to thank you all very, very much for tuning in today. I've had a really good day on here. We had a blast on the stream earlier on. I had good fun. Went over some future tech, and yeah, that show there just now, really good. And again, you listeners, you callers, absolutely top notch. Thank you so, so much. Big shout out to Spooky Andy there in Colorado. Quite interesting, eh? You know, the whole drone thing as well. We didn't get the caller I was hoping would call in from Colorado, but we certainly got an interesting take on the mystery drones from somebody in Colorado. And when it comes to geeks and science nerds and people like that, these are the first people in the world that have their finger on the internet pulse. And they know how to get their craps and giggles, shall we say. And it could well be that whatever that drone thing was to begin with is something entirely different now altogether. What it was, we may never know. I'll continue to keep you up to date if anything else on that breaks. I'm going to get back to it now. I'm going to go and chill out, try and relax, try and wind down, try and get to bed, get a good sleep, and then back at it tomorrow. In the afternoon, I'll be along for the old chill stream. And tomorrow, I think we'll take a look at some funny stuff in preparation for Ryan Gable coming on tomorrow night. Yes, the secretteachings.info. You can hear Ryan over on fringe.fm. We're going to be getting into something completely different for me and Ryan. Ryan usually comes on and amazes us. He absolutely astounds us with his deeper knowledge and understanding of the occult and all things occult. But tomorrow, we're going in a different direction altogether. We're going to be taking a look at the phenomenon that is Florida Man. Yes, so a nice light-hearted look at the Florida Man in the first hour tomorrow night. But in the second hour of the show, because I don't know if we can do 2 hours on Florida Man, but I'll certainly be getting Ryan's take on other things going on in the world right now. And I'm very conscious of the fact I haven't dedicated a show to what is going on down in Australia right now. And it's absolutely horrendous what we're seeing down there. But leave that with me. I have one very prominent Australian guest in mind that I'm going to reach out to get onto the show here. I think we all know who we're talking about. Yeah, I'm going to hit up Max Egan. I'm going to see if Max will come on to the Kev Baker show. But it's been far too long since he's been here the last time. And hopefully Max will be able to bring us up to date with everything with the Australian fires. It won't be this week, so I'll hopefully try and work something out with Max. Fingers crossed for the start of next week. So for one last time before I let you get back to it tonight, thank you all so much. Hang on. Okay then, we've had Iran retaliating for what America done the other day. It's kind of fresh news, folks, but they're talking about a rocket attack on a base that houses US troops. Why don't I take a look at this? Get this for you before we go. At least 10 rockets hit Al-Azad Air Base in Iraq, where US troops are housed in Iraq. Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Corps has taken credit. Some sort of attack. A US official has confirmed that some sort of attack has occurred. And Pelosi got news of the rocket attack during a meeting. By the sounds of the CNN timeline, she was briefed on it before Trump was, but I don't know. Yeah, rocket attack. We are aware of the reports of attacks on U.S. facilities in Iraq. The president has been briefed and is monitoring the situation closely and consulting with his national security team. Yep, so let's hope that's the tit for tat, and all these tits that are trying to take us into another war can just go away and do something else, hopefully, fingers crossed. That's the latest breaking news, folks. I've got no more than what I can give you that I read out there. We're definitely entering interesting times indeed. The next 24 hours, yeah, Marcus says rockets aren't anything. Well, you know, bear in mind there's people like in those bases, and they might not seem like nothing sitting at your keyboard right now. I'm sure they're probably pretty much significant to deal with if you're actually over there in the firing line. And let's not turn this into some kind of manhood waving contest that our missiles are bigger than your missiles type thing. Let's hope that in the next 24 hours, there's no other retaliation back again, tit for tat, and that's how things get escalated, okay? So, it's all just breaking news right now. If there's anything significant happening, I may go live again, but I doubt it. I'll be back tomorrow, probably give you updates on all of this then. But thank you again for tuning in today. It's been a blast. Sorry to leave you on that downer of breaking news. Yes, indeed. Maybe I should have just left that out. I should have just looked at the headline and thought, no, don't add that in just yet, Kev. But listen, folks, I'll be back tomorrow. So keep it real out there, and you know what's coming. Keep your mind open. Keep looking for the woo, but not to the point where your brain turns to black goo. Keep it real, folks. I get you, Marcus. I get you. They are rarely effective. Fingers crossed. Nobody has. Let's hope everyone makes it home tonight. Okay, let's just say that. I get you, Marcus.